Wow. Okay. Once again, messing up Instagram. Why do I have it set to story? It's supposed to be set to live. Alright, now we are on Instagram and we're on Facebook. And I've also been experimenting with downloading some videos and reposting my lives later to YouTube, which I've never really messed around with. So I don't know how my topics are going to go over on YouTube, if they're going to dislike some of the things I talk about. Whatever, I don't care. I'm not trying to run ads and make money on there. So I have to leave. I don't have my watch on. I have to leave in a while to pick up my kid from school, but not quite yet. A watch is a great time for some of us who get a great tool for some of us who get lost in thought and disassociative and have poor time management skills. I'm not like the worst at managing my time, but I'm not always the best either. So I know we all have watches, we all have the time on our smartphones, but we're not always carrying our smartphones. So this keeps me on track. And one of the best features of just having a basic, not smartwatch, just basic watch, is having the on the hour beep, because it keeps me at work on track. So I could have done this earlier in the day, but I wanted to dye my hair today, which I haven't had it, I can't remember the last time I had it green, since I was probably in high school, and I had it like bright green and black at the time. So thankfully I looked on Pinterest before I finished dyeing it to get some ideas, and I like how it came out. I just think I'm gonna go back over it again one more time to add a little more depth, a little darker here at the roots, and maybe some more like streaks that are a little darker, just to give it more depth. So I'm no Brad Mondo or Guy Tang. I'm not like, don't kill me for anything that you know, I say on here about hair dye. If you're a professional, this is really just me being a person who's done my own hair since I was 15, so 16, 20, almost 25 years, and trying to save money, because not all of us can afford to go to a salon. I think that any job that someone does, whether it's cosmetology, hair, I have friends who are artists that tattoo, like, I personally don't believe in asking them for discounts or to give me stuff for free. I think that if someone's doing a job, they should get paid to do that job. You know, but dyeing your hair can take time. I'm lucky because my hair is kind of in between. It's like a naturally brownish kind of color, so I can go light really easy. I can go dark without it fading out too much. I have friends who have naturally blonde hair and have tried to dye their hair black, and one mistake I know my friends have made having blonde hair and going black is using the one with the blue tint in the base, because then you end up with blue hair if you're not careful. So, you know, experience and having someone who's experienced watching some videos to learn what you're doing is always a really good idea. Sorry, I'm looking for brushes. I have no makeup on, obviously, so I think I'm going to do my makeup while I'm talking. I should probably stop using the K word on here, because they are not going to like it. Take care of two birds with one stone, right? It's not a very vegan saying, but yeah. So, I've had pretty much every color of hair. I had a rainbow at one point when I was in school. You guys know I usually do the bi hair in June when I do the parade, which I don't think anybody can really see it because I have a hat on, but you know, when I'm at work, people say they like it. So for me with hair dye, I have really sensitive skin. So there are some brands that will bleach your hair out fast, but you have to be really careful. And some of them have burned my scalp in the past with sensitive skin. I usually have to buy this on Amazon now, but this is what I've been using, this Revlon Total Color, that's listed as vegan. Also gluten-free, which might sound funny and ridiculous to some people, but I have reactions to gluten even in body care products. So I don't like to touch it. Like, this is something I've been gluten-free for 20 years. So it's like, I wish that this didn't have to be a thing, but it's a thing. And I'm dealing with terrible skin things right now. Just because of being out in the sun. Somehow, not wearing gloves for all of probably less than 5 minutes. Every year I do this. And I've been taking a supplement, astaxanthin. I can post it in the link, which I do think has helped a little. It's a form of red algae. Like, you guys know the shrimp that flamingos eat and how that turns them pink. It's because the algae that the shrimp eat that make the shrimp pink make the flamingos pink, and that is astaxanthin. It's a type of algae that's been very stressed. So there are studies on astaxanthin. They're actually adding it to multivitamins now. I think New Chapter has added astaxanthin to a lot of their products, especially for people that are over 40, because there's supposed antioxidant type properties to it. But one of the claims about it is that it works to help support your skin as like a natural type of UV protectant. But obviously it's not 100%. I can't just go out in the sun all the time uncovered. Even still, maybe I could play around with upping the dose for myself. But I do feel like my skin reactions, even when I've had them this year, in general, have been a little less intense. I had one when I went to Veg Fest because I forgot to bring my cover up, and even though I had a sheer, if you see the picture, I've got like a pink and top with strawberries on it, but it was like kind of mesh shirt, so my back got hit when we were at Veg Fest, and I had a little bit of a rash, but it wasn't as bad as some of them that I've had in the past. So that is what it is. So yeah, I usually use this. If you're going blonde, depending on how dark your hair is the first time, or if you're doing roots, you're gonna want to do like 45 minutes. Hour is max, but after that it's kind of a waste. You don't want to burn your hair out too much. And if you're dyeing your hair blonde, if you're not coloring any other part of it, you're just touching up roots, you don't need to dye all of it, which I learned over the years doing my hair. The mistake I made once years ago, and you'll only make this mistake once, is bleaching your hair too many times in succession in a short period of time. And I did it not knowing that when you have permanent, I had black hair and at the time and I wanted to change it. I wanted to take black permanent dye out of my hair, and I tried to use bleach to do it. Wow, that is a mistake. They make a color stripper for your hair. Ion makes one, I-O-N. You can get it at Sally Beauty Supply. Once again, I'm going to tell y'all, I'm not compensated or endorsed or sponsored by any of these companies. These are just things that I like. So the Sally Ion Color Corrector, I'd have to look at the ingredients. I don't remember if it's vegan, but I don't know if there is a vegan option. The Ion Color Stripper does work to take color out of your hair. Now, when you take black out of it, it might turn in kind of like more of like an orangish tint the first time, so you might have to redo it a second time. You might have to bleach after, you know, a sufficient period of time to get that brassiness, or you might have to color correct with some type of toner to get that out of your hair. This is why people go to professionals. Professionals know what they're doing. But if you... I would highly recommend, if you're ever trying to take permanent hair color out of your hair, do not try to bleach it out. You will make that mistake once. You will break your hair and ruin it. Don't do that. Use a color stripper. Yeah, it smells like detergent. It smells strong, but you'd be amazed at how much color it will take out of your hair. So I use the Revlon Total Color to touch up my roots and to, you know, get... almost, I had a little bit of blue left in my hair from when I had that turquoise color in it. And then this time I kind of had to just pick the brand based off of the color I wanted because they didn't have all the colors in stock at Sally. I noticed when I went to Target, they don't have that many hair dyes anymore. Like, they used to have more of the weird, like, flashy colors. And, well, I didn't see them at Wegmans. I didn't see them at Walmart. Even I don't even think Walgreens had many. So it seems like Sally around here in Buffalo is like the main place to go to get hair dyes. So this time I got Arctic Fox. I've used Manic Panic. Manic Panic is like a standard for many, many decades that people have used it as a vegan hair color. Arctic Fox, I'm surprised this time, pleasantly, because when I've used Arctic Fox in the past, it smelled really, really strong, like scented. And it does not seem to be as intense now as it felt in the past to me. So hopefully they've toned down their scents a little bit, because some of us, like, I'm super, super sensitive to scents. I can't even walk down the non-natural cleaning aisle in a grocery store without feeling ill. Like, I'm so sensitive to it. And with my asthma, I can't even anymore be around cigarette smoke if it's within like 6 feet of me. I start having an asthma attack. And my previous partner, previous to the one I'm with now, was a smoker, and when it was on his clothes, I would start having an asthma attack. So it's like, I'm at that point now with my asthma that's so bad at my age and my health conditions that I'm like, I'm never dating a smoker again. I'm sorry. It's the deal breaker for me. I have compromised on that too many times in my past. No offense if people do that. I know it's really hard to quit smoking, but I like to breathe. So that is what it is, you know. And that's what I talked about in my last video, was boundaries. Sometimes a boundary is, you know, your choice to my choice. I can't make someone stop smoking, but I can say, if you smoke, I can't date you. I can't breathe. So the colors that I use this time on my hair, like I said, I want to go a little darker at the roots up here, maybe put a few more dark streaks in it to give it more dimension. But I use Space Cowgirl, which is this more like lime green color, and then I used Phantom Green on top. So first I did the Space Cowgirl over all the hair, and then I went back through with the Phantom Green at the roots, going down. And a trick that I learned, I think I learned this, I can't remember if it was Brad Mondo or if it was Guy Tang. One of them talked about this. When you're dyeing a color in your hair, don't color the first inch or so initially. Do all the rest of your hair and leave about 1 inch or 2 of it, because there's so much more heat at your scalp, it's going to develop faster and take in more color. So I usually do about 20 minutes of the color on all of the hair except for the roots, and then I go back and redo the roots and give that another 20 minutes. And then your color is more blended. Instead of ending up with really, really dark roots and a lighter color on the rest of your head. So that's another trick I've learned. But when in doubt, if you don't know, ask a professional. Go to a professional. You know, I mean, if you don't mind your hair coming out any which way that is unpredictable, and you're like me and you just like to play around with stuff, enjoy at your own risk. So the topic I was gonna talk about today, I don't know, we'll see how much time I have, because I have like 30 minutes, was starting to go into discussion, as I said in my last video, of my own health journey. And because I was talking about sleep being important and eating being important and all of the things that go into health. So for me, when I look at health, it's like a pyramid. Your base of your pyramid is the things you have to do for survival. You have to eat. You have to sleep. Everything else on top of that helps, but if you're not doing the basic stuff, eating, sleeping, you might even debate that socialization comes in there somewhere, but we can live without socializing. We're just not going to live very happy. So eating, I heard someone say years ago, and I can't remember who it was, that health, when it comes to exercise, is and maintaining the body you want to have. I can't even say weight, because sometimes weight goes up when we increase muscle mass, and that's okay. As I've said in another video, and I can talk about in the future, I was raised with the idea that I must meet a number on a scale, a ridiculous number. I was always told, your mother was 105 pounds. She was 5'7". That's not healthy. I don't care. Like, hold me up to that number, whatever. But it's like, my body is more toned now that I lift all day, 30 to 50 pounds a day. than it was when I was younger, and there's not much that I'm unhappy about with it, but that muscle mass is gonna weigh more. Another thing I'm gonna say about my hair right now, I mentioned this in another video, but being Italian Sicilian, I had to blow dry my hair, and I tried, I don't have a flat iron, but I have a hair curler. I was trying to get this flat. If I don't do that, it's like puff, it's like frizz, it gets curly, like it's taken me years and years to try and learn to manage this. So ethnic Mediterranean Sicilian hair, we have African in our DNA in Sicily. It was an island that was fought over and occupied by many different cultures. I'm sure with Africa there were not flattering things going on in that area, you know, but we're a whole bunch of cultures mixed together. So I used to get picked on as a kid for my hair getting really knotted up. Like, kids used to tell me I had a rat's nest in the back of my head. Like, they thought it was funny, you know. Even my own family sometimes is like I guess they thought that shaming was the way to get you to be more presentable in their eyes. So as I mentioned before in my very first video, and I can talk about it again another time, but dreads are just easier for me. It's just very overwhelming to deal with my hair sometimes, but I like being able to dye the front. So exercise, they say, when it comes to maintaining the body that you want. Exercise, doctors and people who work with athleticism will tell you exercise is about 20% of the journey. The other 80% is what you're putting in your mouth. You really literally are what you eat. And if you don't believe that and you want to blame it on all your genes, that's great. That's a great narrative to have. But now that we have the study of epigenetics, a lot of that has been disproven. I'm not saying that people don't have health conditions that affect their weight. I'm not saying that medications and hormones and all of those things don't affect your weight, because they do. I know. I've had to take medications that have made me gain weight. I've dealt with hormonal things like high estrogen that can cause that. This is interesting. Sorry, I'm going to sidetrack with my weird bouncy mind. I don't have a green pencil for my eyebrows. This is the other thing about dyeing your hair. Don't dye your eyebrows, please. Just shape them and go over them with a pencil. But I didn't have a green pencil, so I got this Lime Crime Electric Slide eyeshadow in, what is this color called? Let's Bounce. Let's Bounce. So I'm going to try it. This is apparently like a PETA approved and vegan, which is cool. You didn't used to be able to find a lot of vegan products. Some of that is like a lot of insects. They use the shells of the insects for color, but there's other things. Are they tested on animals? Do they have dairy in them? Do they have beeswax in them? That's a great question. And that's another thing we can talk about with vegans. Some vegans aren't as particular about products that come from bees. That's another video we can do. I try not to buy beeswax. I'm not gonna lie, all right? This is me being an imperfect vegan, but I have a stimming thing that has to do with lip balm. I'm always putting lip balm on all the time, and some of you may have noticed it. Sometimes when I'm talking, it's not as bad. But vegan lip balms, I will happily, if you're a company that makes vegan lip balms, if you want to send me a sample, please send me a sample. I have some that are all right, but they tend to get really sticky, and they just don't satisfy me in the same way of that smooth, moisturized feeling. And yes, I know the more lip balm you put on your lips, the drier your lips. I know. I don't care anymore. It's a stimming thing. I like it. I've learned it's just like it helps me to regulate. I'm not going to stop putting on lip balm. So I'd be more than happy and would love to try more beeswax-free lip balms. We can't always get everything vegan that we want. Sometimes we take what we get, but there's always more products coming out every day. So the pyramid: sleep, eating, food, exercise, supplements, And in my health journey, the very top of the pyramid, this could be debatable, but that it could fall into different places. But like I said, not always necessary for survival mode is working on your mental health. Because I realized over the years that even though I had mostly fixed my sleep, I had improved my diet, I was taking supplements, which did help a lot. But when you learn about your gut, and when you learn about adrenaline and how it affects your gut and how your gut affects your neurotransmitters, if you don't get your mental state in order, it is going to affect your body. This is a proven fact. I've posted many things about it, and I can post more about it. So you can keep, what's the analogy someone made about it? It's like digging a hole, you know? Like mentally, everything that you're doing that's kind of, or that you're dealing with, say if you have CPTSD for me, everything that you haven't worked through yet, it's digging away at you a little bit. So each day you're trying to add to it to like build back up your tolerance, your emotional regulation, your mental state. And like, if you can, though it's hard, if you can invest in therapy at some point, there's lots of different avenues. I will repost another video from, I cannot remember her name, but there's a girl who has an ADHD channel, and she talks about how to find a therapist and the different ways that you can do this. That's a great video, because there are some ways that are more affordable than others for people, and you might have to, just like with doctors, you might have to try a few therapists to find the one that you like. I was lucky because, I can't even say lucky, I kind of did my research and found my lip balm's dead, found a practice that that seems more on brand with me and the things that I'm interested in. So when I went in there and found my therapist, she was very open-minded, which I appreciate. Like, it's a scary thing to be told your whole life that basically emotionally invalidated and told that you need to like suck it up and like go to your room and come back when you have a better attitude, and I don't want to hear this, I don't want to hear that, and blah, 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 and everybody is, you know, everybody in your life telling you they're the victim and that you don't have it that bad, what about me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I did find one of my vegan lip balms. This is WI Wisconsin? I think it is. Yes. I think this was from the vegan grocery store here. Can you see it? Pineapple, ginger, and it's vegan perennial soaps. Shea butter, wax. I don't know how to say this word. Candelilla wax. I'll have to look that up because I don't know what that is. Almond oil, meadow foam seed oil, and then the flavoring / scent. It's not bad, it's weird that something that's not wax can be waxier than beeswax. Explain that, please. We need to do better. Okay, so the pyramid, all the things, sleep, eating the right foods, exercising, taking your supplements, and working on your mental health. It's a journey. And like, I've said this in my videos before because I worked in supplements for a decade. I started in 2010. So I've worked actively in the supplements industry for over a decade. People come in and they want a one pill fix. Life is not a one pill fix, especially when you consider, you know, like if you're coming in there, most of us are adults. Like, we have decades of things we've dealt with in our life, bad eating habits, bad mental habits, trauma, like CPTSD, all these things. And it's like one pill is not going to fix decades of your life. And another video, I've posted about this before, Andrew Rostenberg, who is not a vegan, but he does work with vegan patients, a doctor out of Boise, Idaho, has a channel called Beyond MTHFR. He has a really good video on detoxification. Sometimes he talks about animal studies. I don't support that. It is what it is in these cases. And sometimes he himself sometimes will eat some animal products, but he is still high plant-based. So he has a good video on detoxification, and the reason that he talks about detoxification when it comes to changing your diet, when it comes to supplements, is that your gut health is kind of like a whole living ecosystem in your body. So it doesn't instantly like change. Like we have friendly bacteria, we have what are called negative gram, not so friendly bacteria, and it can take a few days to, sometimes longer than a few days, to clear those out of our system. So his predecessor, his mentors had said before, my dog's chewing a bone again. I think I'm gonna let him out so you guys don't have to hear it so loud. His predecessors have said before that unfriendly negative gram bacteria, if you take vitamins, those bacteria will make toxins out of vitamins. You sometimes will take a vitamin and it does not even get into your system because you have an overgrowth of unfriendly bacteria and or yeast in your gut. So you are, it's like their analogy is it's like having a lawn that's overgrown with some type of weed you don't want, and you're just throwing fertilizer on it. You're just going to get more weeds. I mean, if you want to grow, say, a garden of vegetables and it's full of weeds that are choking out your vegetables, you got to remove the weeds first. So I personally am not a huge fan of fasting. Some people are really into it. I don't like it because most people don't have really good habits and don't have really good blood sugar. And mentally, it's very difficult. I have done cleanses that were mono cleanses before. I did one with Dr. Rosenberg. It's really hard. A mono cleanse is where for your meal you're allowed to eat like one thing as much as you want. You can put spices on it. You can put healthy oils on it. You can, but it's like asparagus for dinner. Not quite enough for me. But it's not meant to be something you do all the time. It's meant to help to kind of remove the weeds and jumpstart your body. So, you know, a lot of people come in and get really excited and see things on the internet and learn things, and they want to change everything about their life right now. I'm going to change it all. That is stressful for your body. A lot of these foods, sugars, habits that you're doing, if you're drinking alcohol, if you're doing other substances, your body has to detoxify and get them out. And so people will be like, I changed my diet, I started taking vitamins, and I feel horrible. Well, maybe the stuff that you're taking is feeding unfriendly things in your body. And that's not like bacteria do help us. We can't live without bacteria. They're part of our immune system that helps to support us and protect us. And they do other things for us, like if you have a healthy gut microbiome, the bacteria then, as Andrew Rosenberg's predecessors say, friendly bacteria and a balanced gut, when you eat vegetables and healthy things, those bacteria actually create vitamins for your body. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? Like, you wouldn't not expect that. So there's a symbiosis, like we need those things. And that's another talk we can go into about probiotics. I could get into a lot of detail about probiotics. I've had trainings through different companies for it. I'm not going to go into the whole discussion today. So I'm going to go back and try to circle back around. I've got about 20 minutes. So for me on my personal health journey, I'll do another video about different health things that I dealt with. I'm going to make it simple and say, first of all, my father had his first heart attack when he was 43, as I've mentioned. That is scary. It's scary I'm 40. To think that in 3 years from now, my dad was the age where he was facing the idea that he may not be on this planet and his children could have to be on their own, that is wild. That I could say I can't imagine, but I've lived it. And to be a child who had one parent after my mother passed when I was 8, and to have the to be faced with the idea that I could be parentless at the age of like 14, 15, it's already a stressful time. That does not help your mental health. So it kind of made me want to change things in my life in that regard. And so we started getting onto healthier eating. This is when we were first introduced to like Whole Foods, which is funny if any of you have shopped at Whole Foods for years. I remember when Whole Foods carried things like Snapple. Like, do you guys remember? Like, does anybody's Whole Foods still carry that? Like, it's changed so much. It's wild. But so this was like 25 years ago. So that was the first thing. And then when I got to be about 19 years old is when I started to have a lot of health problems. Now, we could say this is a combination of genetics and CPTSD, stress. I mean, who's to say specifically? But I had eczema from like the age of 1. You know, I was nursed by my mother, so I did get beneficial probiotics and things from that. But I grew up in an area where my mother's family came from farmers, and everyone around us were farmers. They're all drinking dairy milk, and they're eating meat. But like dairy milk, I just posted a video about centenarians. Centenarians are people in cultures that live to be 100 or older. And the blue zones where they find in the world the most centenarians, they literally stated in that video, if you go look on my Facebook, they say one of the things, other than like a 90% rate or consumption of whole plant-based foods, is none of, or little to none of those cultures consume dairy. Dairy has, even when it's organic, lots of hormones in it because cows have hormones in their body. So just because something says no hormones added does not mean it has no hormones. It just means it doesn't have extra hormones. So that's another discussion about dairy and estrogen and the effects that it has on people. One of many reasons not to eat dairy. And this is another thing for me to get into down the line. MTHFR. If you look up that channel on YouTube, Dr. Rosenberg is one of the leading people talking about that. I didn't find out about it until years later when I was trying to get pregnant and I kept having problems. And I had a physician who was, well versed in this area, and she brought it up to me. She's like, there's a higher incidence of people having issues with trying to get pregnant on both sides, either person, with MTHFR gene mutations. So you get 2 copies of each gene. If you have one gene that's mutated to a different sequence, to make a different shape of whatever enzyme or whatever it's making, it slows down certain processes in your body and makes things harder. That's the simplified way. There's a lot of detail that Rosenberg goes into in his videos about it. But if you have 2 copies of the gene, that makes it even worse. Like, I think that 1 copy is something like 30% reduced function of the enzyme in this case, versus 2 of them is as much as 70-80% reduced function. Don't quote me on that. It's somewhere in that range. I'm just trying to give you the big picture here. So I found out about that when I was having trouble getting pregnant. And I have 1 bad copy of the gene. So this does affect your estrogen detox because it affects a lot of systems in your body. I'm just going to say that. But estrogen is a huge problem in this country. And I'm sorry, I know it's going to disappoint people, but one of the worst sources of estrogen other than dairy, beer. Because hops are estrogenic. And it's not the same type of estrogen. There's different types of estrogen that have different chemical structures. And there are reports of people who work with hops in the factories, in beer, brewing, that cis women specifically, where it affects their menstrual cycles, just touching the hops. So, sorry to all beer drinkers, but if you're drinking beer, you're putting a lot of estrogen in your body and you're stressing your system. So estrogen is another issue. But when I was about 19, I got super, super sick. My eczema was out of control. I had in my palms long cracks going down the palms, like bloody cracks. Sorry to get too descriptive here, but that's the way it was. And it was painful. My fingers were so swollen and cracked that I could not bend some of my fingers. I could not close my hands at certain times. Water, any soap, any substance that I was getting on my hands burned. It was very painful, to the point that, like, I remember my sister at that time had to help me wash my hair because my hands were so bad I couldn't handle it. And even now, when I wash my hair, like especially now, like I have a PMLE sorry, I'm having trouble with pulling words. I'm having a PMLE reaction from being out in the sun recently. I wear gloves when I'm in the shower and I'm washing my hair out or dye my hair because I really don't want to get too many things on my hands. Another video we can talk about eczema. We have something that's called the pH barrier. It's like that. There's a literal layer on the top of your skin that's made of like sebum, like that oily substance that we produce at times, and bacteria, and it needs to be at a certain pH. And this is why we talk about pH balanced products, because products that are not balanced, products that are not pH balanced, destroy the acid mantle, the pH barrier of your skin, and this makes you more prone to infections and more prone to things like eczema. I didn't just know this. No one taught me this. This was something that I learned through my research because I got so sick that I could not work. The heat made it so much worse. I could not do anything with my hands. My boss basically told me to go home, not coming to work, because I had a customer who looked at him, and this is very secluded Virginia, very uneducated people, but someone took my boss aside one day, and this is going to be triggering. I'm going to tell y'all this is ignorant as hell, but they said, you need to do something about that girl. She looks like she has AIDS, HIV. And I'm like, that is the most ignorant. How do you know? You don't even know what that looks like. Y'all don't know what you are talking about. But, you know, my boss was concerned. He sent me home. It was one of the most depressing times in my life because it was painful to leave the house. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't cook. I couldn't do anything with my hands. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I had been given steroid creams at different times in my life, but they weren't working. Now I know I'm actually allergic to some of them, which is really fun. This is the thing too about quick fixes, whether it's medication or supplements. Your body wants to reach homeostasis and will adjust itself to tolerate and get used to certain medications and supplements. You are not going to get as much effectiveness out of them after a while. So I remember calling my doctor at the time and not having insurance, and them telling me, well, you don't have insurance, we don't know what to do for you. Isn't the American medical system fantastic? So I went online and I did my own research and read a lot of stuff about eczema. And I cannot remember the woman's name. I wish that I could, or that it was still online. But there was a woman who had a really good book that you could buy online. She would send you a PDF of it, all of her knowledge about eczema and skin conditions. So I read that. One of the things she mentioned in the book was allergy reduction diet. This is also something that Dr. Rosenberg does with his patients. The first thing you got to do if you want to get your health under control is stop, metaphorically, setting your body on FIRE. That's what you're doing. It's like lighting a stove under your butt, and it's just like you are creating inflammation in your body. So not everybody's allergic to everything. No. But you don't know until you know. And the crazy thing is that you don't know what better feels like until you feel better. You don't know what normal feels like until you feel better, because you have lived your whole life this way in pain and misery of the diet, the habits, the whatever you have, that it has become your new normal. You don't know what normal is. You don't have a basis of what not feeling like garbage feels like because you walk around every day feeling that way. So I went on an elimination diet for a while where I took out all the major allergens, wheat and gluten, soy products, dairy. I think I'd cut out peanuts and nuts for a while. I'm missing something, probably like isn't fish in there. But I took all of these major allergens out and slowly put one back in at a time. This is how I realized that gluten was a massive problem for me. And I'll tell you, I got so much flack for years because of it, because I did go and get tested for celiac disease, but I had been gluten-free for a couple of years before this, and they had me eat it for like a week or two before the test. Didn't show anything. And I get so sick of people saying this. First of all, there's another video about gluten that Andrew Rosenberg has that explains molecular mimicry and how that can affect some people when it comes to gluten and not celiac disease. There is gluten intolerance that is not celiac disease. But later, many years later, a decade or two later, when I got my genes tested, I do have a genetic predisposition for celiac disease. I will never develop it because I don't eat gluten. But yeah, and I'll explain in another video what that looks like for me and the problems that I have with it. But I did notice doing that, it gave me perspective on what it feels like to not feel like garbage. Like, you don't even know, if I eat a gluten-free vegan pizza, it's so dramatic, the difference of if I ate a regular pizza made with high gluten flour, which I think this was one thing that really spurred my gluten sensitivity, was gluten intolerance and celiac disease. The best way I can equate it is that it's similar to diabetes. You can have a predisposition to it and you can barrage your body with so much of it for a while, just like eating lots and lots of sugar, that your body gets to a point where it can't tolerate it anymore. And I was working in an Italian restaurant. I worked in an Italian restaurant and a pizza chain prior to that. This is like a 5-year span of foods that are high gluten, eating them, because when you're at work, we would get a meal. So I'm eating pizza all the time. I'm eating high gluten flour all the time, to the point that I was so, I was in my house, I think, it's blurry because of CPTSD, but I think it was 6 weeks or 2 months. And I finally was able to go back to work eventually, but I've had to, change a lot of my habits over time. And I'd say cutting out gluten for me cleared up at least 80% of my eczema, at least, if not 90%. The rest has been other little changes I've had to make over time. So I will explain more of those later. It's a learning journey. Everyone's body's different. What people react to is not the same. Everybody doesn't react to the same things. What you react to at one point in your life may not be what you react to at another point in your life. So the best takeaway from this is finding your base, like your point of reference of what feeling healthy feels like and getting to know your body. But you can't do that when you keep eating unhealthy. And I think that's where these ideas of these companies that do like retreats and cleanses and stuff like that, I think like meatless January, whatever, it's to get a frame of reference for people of like, wow, like this feels good and I can do this. And it's really not as hard as I think it is, because I did that. I did vegan. So I've been vegan since around 2015 was when I started transitioning, but I did meatless and less meat for years before that, but I did a few Januaries where I did 30 days of vegan. And I just realized that it wasn't that hard and I wasn't missing the foods that I liked, and I felt better. So I'm definitely gonna have to make a part 2, 3, whatever of this. Health is a long journey. And another author at the time, also not vegan, but some great information that I got, was I read Dr. Andrew Weil's books. He has one called Healthy Aging. So I'm like 20 and I'm reading the book Healthy Aging. And this is what made me want to start talking about this, was I made a video the other day about saying, I know this is not everybody. Even regardless of all of the stressful things that have happened in my life, all of the rough experiences of CPTSD, like I want to live as much life as I can. And I really want to live to 100. And I know people, when they think of people that are 100, just think of this like really old, decrepit, like person that can't take care of themselves. But like, that's not all of society. Like there is a certain portion of society that's still thriving. I mean, look at Tori Washington on Instagram, who's a vegan bodybuilder. He's like 80. That shocked me. I was like, the man does not look 80 years old. He looks amazing. So, you know, exercising, eating healthy, taking care of your mental health. The idea is that you're never going to die. Everyone is going to pass at some point. But do you want to live a larger portion of your life feeling like garbage? Do you want to, you know, have 20 years at the end of your life where you're suffering? Or would you rather have it come within 5 years or less? You know, it's going to happen to us all. Nothing's guaranteed, but there are things that you can control. And as I mentioned before, this whole idea in the 90s, when they mapped the human genome and started associating genes with health conditions, was, I feel like my parents' generation, the boomers, took this as a license, and their parents' generation from the 30s took this as a license to say, it's in my genes, I can't help it. It's just going to happen to me. So, you know, my own great-grandfather, I feel like, had a little bit of this attitude. I'm going to do whatever then, whatever I want, because it doesn't matter. It's like this self-defeating attitude, and it's unfortunate, like, because we can have influence over things. Sometimes it's hard, and I don't think that trying to change your whole life in one day is a great idea. And this is why with veganism, yes, I'd love it if everyone could just magically like cut all these things out of their diet, but there's social transitions that have to happen. You have to change things in your life. You have to let your body kind of get used to the things that you're doing, let your brain get used to the taste that you're tasting. So I think we should make small changes when we can. Lots of small changes. Eventually, when you look back on decades, you're like, wow, look at where I was then and look at where I am now. Like, and sometimes it's not linear. Sometimes you change something and things improve, and then you fall back down, and then you get back up, and then you fall back down again. And it's like this is another thing that I said I learned as a person who's neurodivergent. Like, I had to learn persistence. Persistence is getting back up again. Persistence is failing or falling down and getting back up again and being like, you know what, I'm going to try again. Because just because you make a mistake or something's not perfect or you fail does not mean you're done. It doesn't mean you just stop. So I will definitely make some more videos about my health journey. I feel like it's much longer to talk about than can be fit into a 40-minute to an hour long video. I will post some of the links. It's easier for me to post them on Facebook, but I will try to post some under this video in Instagram. I'm also going to try on YouTube to make a playlist of my recommended videos, because I know I talk about them all the time, and my partner pointed this out. He's like, I wish that all the things that you send me, I'd love to go back and watch them, but sometimes like when you're posting them, they get lost on posts or in your messages or whatever. So when I get the time, I will start some lists on YouTube of my recommended videos. And as I said, I don't think anyone is the one authority on health. I think you have to look at the big picture of all the different things that are happening and know yourself and what works for you. And I'll say, even as a vegan, I know a few people who, because of health reasons, eating vegan is very, very difficult for them. And so I'm not going to shame those people. Some people, that is difficult. I'm not them, so I'm not going to try to explain their reasons why. There are just some extreme health conditions where it's harder for some people. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but you know, people, you have to balance your mental health and your physical health too. So start somewhere. That's all I can say. Like, don't try to change it all, but you have to move in some direction. You can't just sit and continue to do what you're doing every day and not make any changes and think your life's going to change. And sometimes you have a goal. We all love those resolutions, but like sometimes the goal doesn't come when you want it to come. Like, it's, for me, I'm not going to lie, exercise is a harder one for me, especially with my sciatic and things that I've been dealing with lately. I'm taking it one day at a time. I still have a goal. I'm not there yet. And sometimes I fall behind, but I'm not going to talk badly to myself about that. I'm just going to keep trying, because you know, some of these people that I post about, if you go on my Instagram, above the post grid, there's the featured stories, and there's a lot of links there. There's one that's called, I think it's like Plant Strong. So that's just talking about people who are vegan, who do bodybuilding, people who are older, who are vegan, that are like super strong. And like, maybe everyone can't do it, but we can incorporate some degree and, you know, learn something from that. It's not saying everyone has to be Tory Washington. You know, he's great, but I'm sure he works his vegan behind off to maintain that. So if you guys have questions, let me know, because I will follow up and make some more videos to go into all of this discussion and explain more about my health journey, because I feel like this is just the beginning. I'll say as the beginning was 19, 20 years old, literally getting so sick that I couldn't leave my house. A lot of us who work in wellness have a similar story. Something that happened to us that made us have to change. And it's better if you can make the change before you get into crisis mode. It happens, and sometimes that's what has to happen, but it's better if you can get ahead of it. So that's something I can talk about more in the future, is like, there's reactive mode that we can live in life, and there's proactive mode. When you start to get things under control and learn what things help you to maintain your life and your health and your mental health balance, you can be proactive versus reactive. And a lot of people live in reactive mode. It's not a great, it is what it is. We have to do it, but it's not the best mode to live in. So everybody have a great day. Drop your questions in the comments. I will go back and try to post more links later. Thank you.